Preface by Professor Eva Catharos, Academia Amor Invictus, Pisa. In 2025, in a villa near Viterbo, a collection of papers was discovered, sealed in wax and marked with the crest of the House of Borgia. The discovery, though fragmentary and surrounded by ambiguity, presents itself as one of the most tantalizing finds of Renaissance studies in recent decades. The documents, scattered and obscured by the passage of centuries, appear to contain aphorisms and reflections attributed to Cesare Borgia, Duke of Valentinois, the figure whom Niccolo Machiavelli immortalized as the exemplar of princely cunning and ruthless pragmatism in Illinois Principe. The question of authenticity, as in all matters of Renaissance manuscripts, will remain contested. Scholars will debate paleography, provenance, linguistic features, and archival lacunae. But what is less important than the strict positivist verdict of authenticity is the conceptual content of the work itself. Whether penned by Cesare's own hand, compiled by a secretary, or forged in a later age by an imitator steeped in the Borgian legend, these texts open a window onto the logic of power, its mechanics, its betrayals, its seductions. For centuries, Cesare Borgia has been perceived primarily through two lenses, either as the brutal condottiere, the embodiment of ruthless violence, or as Machiavelli's prototype of political modernity. Yet these pages offer something else, the introspective Borgia, the thinker wrestling with mortality, betrayal, and the irreducible fragility of human endeavors. Here we encounter not simply the strategist but the man who, like all who rise too high, recognized the abyss that shadows ambition. What struck me in reading and arranging these materials is how much they resemble not a set of orders or instructions but a philosophical diary, notes that oscillate between confession and commandment, between aesthetic reflection and hard epistemic clarity. At times, Borgia appears as the cold analyst of human motives, at others, as a tragic dreamer who understood that greatness is always entangled with ruin. The fragmentary style, elliptical yet forceful, mirrors both the uncertainties of Renaissance politics and the contradictions of Borgia's own life. To render the material accessible, I have arranged these fragments into 69 laws. This number is not arbitrary, it reflects both the symbolic completeness of an ordered sequence and the excess of one beyond the sacred 68, a gesture toward transgression, toward the surplus that defines the Borgian spirit. Each law begins with an aphorism, attributed to Cesare and preserved in translation. It is then followed by historical notes that provide context, and finally by philosophical commentary that situates the reflection within broader questions of power, knowledge, and fate. This structure deliberately combines the historian's care with the philosopher's freedom. For if we were to read these fragments only as biography, they would shrink into anecdote, and if we were to read them only as abstract philosophy, we would risk detaching them from the flesh and blood violence that gave them birth. Only in the tension between historical precision and speculative interpretation can one do justice to a mind that lived on both planes at once. It must be emphasized, this is not a manual of virtue, nor a guidebook of idealized conduct. The Borgia laws are not intended to flatter moral sensibilities. They are instead a mirror held up to political reality at its most unmasked. What is revealed is uncomfortable, at times terrifying, a vision of humanity driven by ambition, fear, loyalty, betrayal, love, and cruelty, all intertwined in the relentless pursuit of survival and domination. Yet to dismiss the text as cynical is to miss its deeper insight. For the Borgian reflections are not mere celebrations of power, they are acknowledgments of its limits. Even in his pursuit of empire, Cesare knew that all human constructions are fragile, all plans vulnerable to chance. Fortune, so central a theme to Machiavelli's thought, appears here not as an abstract goddess but as a palpable presence against which even the strongest must wrestle. Cesare's tragedy was not simply his fall, but his awareness of how precarious even the loftiest edifice remains. In reading these pages, therefore, one does not simply encounter Cesare Borgia the man. One encounters the eternal logic of power itself, its seductions and its devastations, its structures and its unravelings. The text is as much about us as it is about him, about the perennial conditions under which human beings pursue dominance, recognition, and survival. May the reader approach with caution and with seriousness. For this book is neither hagiography nor condemnation. It is a mirror. And like all true mirrors, it does not flatter, it reveals. Eva Catharos, Professor of Renaissance Philosophy. Academia Amor Invictus, Pisa. 2025. The 69 Laws of Manipulation. Law I, hearts deceive, words deceive, only eyes reveal. Diary fragment, Borgia. Men swear loyalty with their tongues and write oaths with their hands, but betray with their hearts. I trusted neither heart nor word. I looked into the eyes. The eye never lies, for it cannot invent. It is the window through which the soul betrays itself. Historical anecdote I, the false loyalty of the Orsini. The Orsini princes bowed low to Cesare Borgia, their lips dripping with declarations of eternal fidelity. They offered him oaths, gifts, and smiles. But Cesare noticed what others ignored, the flicker of the eyes when his soldiers entered the room, the restless glances toward the exits. Their words proclaimed loyalty, but their eyes confessed conspiracy. When the conspiracy at Senigallia reached maturity, Cesare did not hesitate. He lured the Orsini to a banquet, surrounded them with music, wine, and laughter. And then, with cold precision, had them seized and strangled. It was not their words that betrayed them, but their gaze long before. Underscore 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 underscore. Historical anecdote 2, Julius Caesar and Brutus. History repeats itself. Julius Caesar, too, was betrayed not by words but by eyes. Brutus embraced him, kissed him, swore filial loyalty. Yet his eyes trembled with the weight of intent. On the Ides of March, Caesar learned too late what Cesare Borgia knew instinctively: the heart and the tongue are trained in deception, but the eyes falter in disguise. Underscore 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 underscore. Catharo's commentary. Renaissance thinkers described the eye as speculum animae, the mirror of the soul. What Cesare intuited is confirmed by modern science: the eye reveals micro-expressions before the mind can mask them. The lie is fluent on the tongue, but not in the pupil. Borgia was no mystic, he was an empiricist of men, reading not words but involuntary signs. Underscore 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 underscore. Philosophical lens. Machiavelli. Men are so simple and so obedient to necessity that he who deceives will always find someone who will let himself be deceived. Yet Machiavelli learned this lesson by serving Cesare: deception succeeds only if it escapes the eyes. Nietzsche, all credibility, all good conscience, all evidence of truth come only from the senses. Cesare, like Nietzsche centuries later, trusted perception over profession. Underscore 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 underscore. Modern resonance. In politics, speeches overflow with promises, but the candidate's eyes betray contempt or fear when pressed. In business, a contract may be flawless, yet in negotiation the gaze betrays the unspoken intent to renegotiate or abandon. In love, a lover may whisper devotion, but the eyes confess when affection has wandered. Those who master this law do not listen merely with ears but with sight. Underscore 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 underscore. The reversal. And yet, there are those rare beings who master their eyes as they master their tongues, the diplomat trained in silence, the actor who lives in masks, the courtesan who can feign love even in her gaze. Against such as these, the law falters. Then one must observe not the eyes but the constancy of action, for action alone cannot be concealed indefinitely. Underscore 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 underscore. A parable. A farmer once asked a nightingale to guard his crops. The bird sang each night of vigilance and fidelity. Yet the farmer, watching carefully, saw that the bird's eyes never left the forest. When harvest came, the fruit was gone, and the bird sang of sorrow. The farmer killed it, saying, "Your song was false, your eyes were true." Underscore 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 underscore. Summary of law. I trust neither heart nor tongue. The eyes speak when all else conspires to deceive. Law 2, fear is firmer than love. Diary fragment, Borgia. Love is a chain of silk. Delicate, breakable, woven in whim and season. Fear is iron, forged in fire, unbreakable except by death. I prefer to be feared, for love betrays in the night, but fear sleeps always with me.